Training camp is quickly approaching for the Baltimore Ravens, but that doesn't mean people have stopped talking about Lamar Jackson and his placement on the NFL Top 100 and other lists.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Ravens. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Kevin Ostreicher of Ravens Wire. On today's show, training camp, it is quickly approaching. Friday is when the rookies report, and then it all just kind of falls in place. Today's episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this MLB season. We'll talk about what's going to hopefully be some of the good things that come out of training camp, what we're looking forward to. And here to do that with me today, it is Ravens long snapper. He is Nick Moore. We'll dive into what Nick has to say about training camp, as well as Lamar Jackson placement on these lists. People are still talking about it, and we're going to dive into what some pundits say, and we're going to get Nick's opinion on it as well, because I think Nick might have a thought or two, just a thought or two. So we'll dive into all of that here. Nick, it's good to have you back on the show. I know you're probably feeling excited because training camp is kicking off in just less than a week now. Obviously it's been a long off season, lots of change, but it's about time to get this thing rolling.
Yeah, it's good to be back here. It's been quite a while. I feel like the off season, it's been a very busy one. Obviously a whole lot of things have gone on since back in January. So I am eager to get going, kind of put everything that happened in the spring and all the talking points behind us and get to work on the 2026 season.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement in the air for sure. And I'm sure there's a lot of excitement in the building as well as people start to filter back in for training camp. But of course, before training camp, Nick, people just need to find things to talk about. And certainly that has happened with Lamar Jackson, because Lamar's a guy that, hey, feels like national media needs something to talk about. Why don't you just talk about Lamar Jackson? And that's kind of what's going on here. I'm sure you've seen it. Lamar Jackson ranked number 69 on the NFL Top 100 list of 2026. He was ranked 5th in a poll from ESPN about, from scouts, executives, and coaches. So kind of pretty wild placements in my opinion. And now we're starting to get the other guys who are ranked ahead of Lamar Jackson. And one of those names is Bo Nix over in Denver, who had a great season last year. I think that he's a guy that's established himself as a cornerstone for Denver, but he was ranked ahead of Lamar at number 59 on the NFL Top 100 list. And the national media is not happy about this. They're not happy about it at all. I mean, Chris Broussard, he just went off on this situation when he was on First Things First. Chris Broussard said, quote, "Do you have an issue with Fred VanVleet being ahead of Anthony Edwards, Brandon Ingram better than Giannis? Lamar Jackson has 2 MVPs, and Bo Nix doesn't even have 2 or 1 Pro Bowl appearance. So how easy it is to get to the Pro Bowl nowadays. He hasn't made a Pro Bowl, and he's better than Lamar Jackson. I have a problem with him being 10 centimeters in front of Lamar Jackson. I actually have a problem with him being 10 spots behind Lamar Jackson. He should be 20, 30 spots behind. What are we talking about? People don't understand injuries. He was injured last year. He was hampered and still had a pass rating light years ahead. I'm baffled. And I honestly, players, I got nothing but love and respect for y'all, but this is embarrassing." So Chris Broussard was not happy about this. And look, again, I don't think this is about Bo Nix, Nick. I think Bo Nix is a great quarterback, but there's a lot of context to Lamar Jackson's situation, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about where he kind of fell on this list and, kind of the process with this NFL Top 100 list, because the process itself, I feel like, has gotten a lot of scrutiny as well.
It's no secret Lamar didn't play up to Lamar Jackson's standards last season. I feel like Bo Nix had a great year. Me personally, obviously I'm slightly biased because I am Lamar's teammate and I have been for a long time. I just don't know that there's 68 people on the planet that are better at football than Lamar Jackson, but that's just my take. I think a lot of it was probably geared on last season. There was all the rumblings that were going on about what was happening and, with our team and our organization, and the performance wasn't there on the field. And, there was just, I feel like people love to hate on Lamar. I think I've said this in the past. He's the villain. And, when it comes to the quarterback conversation, I feel like Lamar is always the guy that gets scrutinized the most. I guess people, because he's not your everyday drop back quarterback like Tom or Peyton or, Eli or any of those guys that were top of their class. He does so much more for the team. And I just feel like I say this to everybody. If number 8 can play 17 games, you're going to win 12 or more games. Every season he's started every single game. I think our worst record was 11 and I can't remember exactly what our record was in 2020, but in 2023 or 2024, we went 12-5. And you look at 19, they went 14-2. You look at 23, they went 14-3. You look, he's just, every time he plays, he's dominant, and you can win every single game when he's on the field. And no matter who else is playing, you have a chance to win the game with number 8. And that's my opinion on Lamar. I stand by that. I think he's the most dynamic football player of our generation. The things he's able to do with the football, the things he's able to open up for everybody else on the offense, skill position-wise. I think he's just such a unique tool for an offensive team that I don't think anybody comes close to that as far as his capabilities. And, I think for him, I don't think he cares too much about the ranking system. He's been anywhere from what I think I saw a stat where the last 2 times he won MVP, he was like 50. He was like rated like 50 or something, 58 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's looking worried about that too much. I know he's been working his tail off this offseason, really diving into the new offensive game that we're going to have with Declan and really kind of being the leader for that unit and building a system that's going to be the absolute most productive that we can get out of the guys that we have here. And I'm excited to see what it looks like come September. And as we get more comfortable down throughout the season, I think we're going to continue to have one of the most dominant offensive units in the league. And let's not forget that the 2 years prior to last year, he was MVP one year, and then he had a 4,100 and 1,000-yard. Like, come on. No one's ever done that in the history of the game. So he's definitely – I think he's the best player in the NFL. I'm biased, but I think we're moving on to 2026, and I have no doubt that Lamar Jackson is going to continue to be Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. And, Kyle Brandt also got in on this action a little bit as well, where he was at Mike Greenberg actually asked him, he's like, because he apparently got back, he's like, how should a person react to that? And Kyle Brandt put his hand on Mike Greenberg's shoulder and was like, first of all, just try to stay calm. So what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to stay calm for you. He said, quote, God bless those top 100 rankings. They're like manna from heaven to get us through the desert of the offseason. I've heard a million players who do them in the middle of the season. They're handed them after practice. They scribble their names and they roll their eyes and they hand it back. I don't think there's a living person in the world, including every single Denver Bronco, who thinks Bo Nix is better than Lamar Jackson right now. And if they do, they're not watching the games. It's fine if you want to say Bo Nix is up and coming. That's great. He's not better than Lamar Jackson. It's ridiculous. I loved how Kyle had to calm himself down when he was talking.
Yeah,
about
he was definitely doing some self-calming there. That's for sure.
That was like real time live. You could see it happening. Wow. But Lamar is one of one. And actually, Todd Monken was on the Ryan Ripken. I don't know if you've heard of the Ryan Ripken show before, Nick, but he was on the he was on there. Yeah, it's
out there.
Yeah, it's out there.
It's out there.
Todd was talking about Lamar and mentioned how you can put an athlete back there at quarterback, but he can't do what Lamar does throwing the ball. You can put a guy who can throw the ball well back there. He can't do what Lamar does athletically. And talked about how cool, calm, and collected Lamar is. And Lamar's a guy that just like you kind of alluded to, he just does Lamar. He just kind of marches to the beat of his own drum, doesn't really take to a lot of the outside noise. He'll respond at points, when he does, it's cinema. But he's a guy that, again, he knows who he is. He knows what he wants to accomplish. And I think that's one of the cool things about Lamar is he could have been left off this list. And I don't really think he wouldn't have cared.
I just think it's hard because people, this is my opinion. Okay. I just feel like there's nothing in the history of this game that you can look at and compare to Lamar Jackson. You can compare Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes to Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and these old Joe Montana and Steve Young and all these older quarterbacks that were just really dominant. And Josh, both of those guys I mentioned earlier, Josh and Pat, they're both mobile quarterbacks, right? They both move well. But nobody – Michael Vick is probably the best comparison, but he didn't. I mean, I was from Atlanta, so I know a little bit about Michael Vick, but he didn't he wasn't quite the pocket, the thrower of the football. Like, obviously he had an absolute cannon for an arm. That left arm was just an absolute gift from God. But I just felt like he wasn't quite the caliber that Lamar Jackson is. And I just feel like people love to hate on the guy. Like, that's just me. I think all the stuff I read about Lamar is he's not doing enough to win. It's like there's so many things that go into winning in the NFL that, like, what are they saying about Patrick Mahomes? Like, how is he being compared to – they didn't have a very good season this past year, and there's other quarterbacks like that have not had successful seasons. But then I feel like for them it's always about, well, they didn't have a good defense, or – they had so-and-so was hurt, or they were missing two of their wide receivers, or their running back was out, or they were missing a couple starters on the offensive line. But, like, Lamar, when Lamar doesn't do well, it's like, oh, he's just not good. Like, he's just not, it kind of gets brushed off that, like, we had 10 guys that weren't starters on defense that played in a game, or we had so many of our defensive guys that missed a good portion of the season, or we had, a bunch of injuries throughout the entire team last season. And I feel like all the heat gets thrown on Lamar, and it's not necessarily a depiction of him as a player. But unfortunately for him, he's the quarterback. You're the guy that makes all the money, so you get a lot of the scrutiny. But I just feel like he probably gets a little bit more than he deserves. And that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, and look, I mean, all these guys are great quarterbacks, but Lamar, I think, is talked about in a different light. I mean, for example, like Joe Burrow missed more games than Lamar last season. Yeah. He's been more injury prone than Lamar has, and he's going to be above Lamar on this, assuming he's on the top 100 list. He's going to be above Lamar on the rankings. He was above Lamar in the.
I feel like it has to be because of the quarterback thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just, it's things like that where we're not diminishing who Joe Burrow was as a quarterback or who Mahomes. Yeah. Like, we know these guys are elite, like, awesome talents, 100%. But Lamar also is in that category. So you got to keep the same energy with him as you're keeping with the rest of these elite quarterbacks. So again, it's all these types of conversations. It's just kind of off-season talk and lists and all that. But the real thing is coming soon. It's coming soon. So we'll continue to talk about this. And I think that it's really intriguing because, again, Lamar could be left off these lists. If he's lifting up that Lombardi trophy, who cares? Yeah. Who cares? So we'll talk about that and a lot more coming up here on Locked On Ravens.
Matt Derry here from the Locked On Lions podcast. Life insurance is one of those things you don't really think about until you have a reason to. For me, it really hit home when my father passed away over 20 years ago. You start thinking less about yourself and more about the people who depend on you and making sure they're taken care of no matter what. That's why I like Ethos. They make getting life insurance simple. It's 100% online, no doctor visits, no needles, none of that. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in just a few minutes, and even get same-day coverage. And honestly, that's huge because life gets busy. You can get up to $3 million in coverage, and some plans are as low as just $30 a month. It's just one of those things that gives you peace of mind knowing your family is protected. Take 10 minutes to get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Applications may vary. Rates may vary.
Locked On Ravens, Kevin Allstriker, and Ravens long snapper Nick Moore still here talking with you on this Thursday edition of the show. Thanks so much for being here and making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. We have 5 days a week plus more daily Ravens coverage for you twice per day, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern time, plus bonus episodes, instant reactions, watch-alongs, the squad show, and so much more for you. Nick, continuing the conversation, I mean, individual accolades are great. All that stuff is wonderful. You can talk about lists, you can talk about MVPs, you can talk about whatever you want to. But obviously the goal in that organization and in the facility right now, it's to win a Super Bowl. And I know there's a lot of preparation that goes into that. And I think it's kind of funny when people are looking at Lamar Jackson and kind of discounting him or discounting you guys as a whole and being like, oh, well, they were bad last year, so now that's just who they – I mean, I've seen that. And I was like, oh, well, what happened last year is indicative of who they are. And I say that is not true.
I mean, let's look at the Patriots. What they do in 2024, and then they're in the Super Bowl. Nobody would have said that this time last year would have been like Pats are going to the Super Bowl.
No,
like
exactly.
There's not a whole lot to talk about, and obviously everyone has when it comes to players, everyone has a reason for why they're here. Like there's a lot of stuff that comes with playing in the NFL. There's money, there's fame, there's all these different things that you get. But I think the one thing that every single player that steps on the field or tries to get to this level of football, they all have the same goal in mind, is they want to win a Super Bowl. That is the ultimate goal. There's nothing like that, especially for a guy like Lamar. I look at it like the Michael and LeBron thing, like MJ and LeBron. It's like, he's better because he's got more championships. I just think he's a better basketball player, but that's just my opinion. But you have to, for him, winning a Super Bowl is everything. For us as players and as an organization, top down, from our owner all the way down to the last person working in the building, every single person is here to win a Super Bowl. And I feel like what the Ravens were, the intention that they took into this offseason, with everything that happened last year, with all the chaos that started in January to where we are right now, every single move that Eric and Sashi and Mr. Bisciotti and Jesse and every single person involved made to get to where we are right now is with that one thought in mind of winning a Super Bowl, getting there in February and hoisting that trophy. So, that's the aiming point, like you said.
My stance on it, Nick, has always been like, if you actively choose, like, again, if you're a Steelers fan or a Bengals fan, or like you're a rival of the Ravens and you're like, man, Lamar, like, he's so tough to play against, like, man, and you have like that level of it from like a rivalry perspective, but still respect. Like, I understand that, but it's people who just like choose to go out of their way to not appreciate it and like find ways to tear him down. But it's like, look, you're missing out on like an all-time great here. Like, appreciate Lamar while he's here and playing on the football field, because he is a one-of-one unique talent, and like you're ruining the experience for yourself. Like, that's kind of my point.
I couldn't agree more. I feel like those guys, if they're not winning MVPs and championships every single year, it's like the year was a complete waste. And I just don't agree with that. Like, it's like anything you do in life, you're going to have good times and bad times. And like riding that wave is very difficult to do, especially when every little thing that you do is put on this, social media and the national media. And it's very hard to deal with. And I just feel like L just gets so much of that. And I feel like people aren't appreciative of what he is capable of doing and how special of a football player that he really is. And maybe I'm naive because I see it every single day on the practice field, and I get to I've watched him for the last 6 years and like interacted with him in real life and been a part of the success that he's had. It's been, something that I know for sure I'll be telling my kids about. Like, my grandkids will be like, oh, you played with Lamar Jackson? Like, 100% I did. And it was an honor to play with him. And I think that he is going to be one of the most special talents that ever played this game. And whether he, wins 6 Super Bowls like Tom Brady, or 7 or whatever, or none, there's something special about that dude as a football player and as a person that I just feel like he doesn't get enough credit for. So that's my take.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And, I think it's so interesting because you mentioned, Declan and the offense a little bit earlier in the show, and kind of like what you've been seeing with him at practice for the last 6 years and everything. Is there anything, and maybe, you've been locked in on your own stuff, so, maybe you haven't necessarily been like locked in on what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball totally, but like if you have had a chance to like observe what they're doing over on offense, or maybe even defense, or just your own special team stuff, like, can you tell like the level of detail early on in preparation that the new coaching staff, and even you working with like Randy and Anthony Levine, like those guys, kind of like the detail level over the course of the offseason workouts and maybe what you expect heading into training camp?
Watching from afar, when I'm watching offense and stuff, I've seen L in a position of vocalization as a leader that maybe I haven't paid attention to in the past, but for some reason this year it was, at least in the spring, was extremely noticeable to me. Seeing him commanding the offense, demanding the perfection in the plays and execution. He's obviously the quarterback, but it's not just him, it's every single guy. Like, this is a whole new system top to bottom. There's a few things that we've kept on special teams, but for the majority of the team, the playbook is completely brand new. Offense and defense is brand new. There's a couple things here or there that maybe we've kept where the verbiage is similar, but and on special teams. But like the only two things I know of without a doubt in my mind that we haven't changed at all is punt and field goal. And those are the two things that I'm involved in. And a lot of that is Levine, having played in the system for 10 or 12 seasons and also coached in it for 2 seasons. I expected that to be the thing because punt was kind of his bread and butter as the PP when he played. And we've had a history of great punt units, basically since Harbs was here. I don't know too much about the history before John was the head coach, but I know at least since I've been here, we've been fairly dominant on punt and obviously on field goal. And but those are the two things that we've kept the same. But the level of detail, man, it's when you're learning something completely new and everyone's in the same boat. Like usually you come into the season, obviously the rookies don't know what's going on. They have to learn the playbook and all that. Same with the free agents trying to learn the new footwork or the new verbiage or the new code words or whatever it is. There's only a handful of guys that are learning it, but now it's like every single player is learning it. So like the coaching the help that I've seen from guys like Trey Hendrickson and Lamar and Kyle and Roe and Ronnie, like the way that they've stepped up to lead because they know how important it is going to be and how difficult it's going to be to learn this new system as we, got to it and back in April, to get ourselves into a position to have success right out of the gate in September. We needed those guys to step up and do the things that they did over the last couple of months. And to me, it's been fascinating to watch just these guys really show out and be the leaders that I feel like maybe we've been needing. Especially, last year we definitely needed guys to step up and be leaders. And I feel like now people kind of got a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth or whatever it is from last year that they know like, hey, this is kind of a wake up call. Like, hey, we gotta get going. So I've seen that and I'm eager to see what it's going to shape out to be as we go through this 6 weeks training camp and these 3 preseason games to get ourselves ready for the NFL season. I'm excited to see where we are come September because I think the sky's the limit. Like, I don't think anybody really knows outside of our building what we're fully going to be capable of doing come September. So I'm excited for that. I feel like we have so much talent. Our coaches are so detailed and they're so smart. Like Jesse's like, so when I listen to him talk about defense, I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? Obviously it's always been there. We've had great coaches along the way, but like now as our head coach, being the defensive play caller, being the one who basically built the defensive system, there's been so many clips of him coaching, throughout social media and all that stuff that I've got to really see it. Cause usually I'm like way away from him on the field, but now I'm like listening to this man talk. I'm like, dude, I used to feel that way about John when it came to special teams. Like I couldn't slack off because like he knew everything. So like he knew right away if I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And now having a head coach that's like that with the defense is like, it's just honestly one of the coolest things I've ever witnessed. And I'm excited to see what we're going to be able to do. And I think that guys are going to be hungry and ready to rock and roll, man.
Yeah, it's exciting. That's where the excitement level comes, I think, for even just people who cover the team and the fan base, like seeing it from the outside. It feels like everything is kind of happening on the right path, for lack of a better word. And it feels like things worked out during the spring workouts and now heading into training camp, that momentum will be able to be carried over. And I'm hoping that it will. And it sounds like from what you're saying, like that's definitely going to be a thing that goes on. But coming up in the final part of the show, continue talking about training camp, what to expect, get Nick's thoughts on all of it. Stay tuned. Plenty coming up here on Locked On Ravens. Support for today's episode comes from Ultra Pouches. If you've ever found yourself reaching for a nicotine pouch, another cup of coffee, or an energy drink just to stay focused throughout the day, you're not alone. Ultra pouches offer a different approach. They're completely nicotine and caffeine-free, using clinically designed nootropics and adaptogens to help deliver smooth, focus, and steady energy without relying on nicotine or caffeine. Whether you're working, studying, training, or simply trying to stay productive, Ultra was designed to help keep you locked in. Ultra combines ingredients like Infinity, PX, L-theanine, alpha-GPC, and vitamins B6 and B12 to support focus, mental clarity, and balanced energy. It's designed to provide the pouch experience people enjoy while delivering smooth, plant-powered energy without nicotine or caffeine. Ultra pouches are useful at so many different times, whether it be before work, while studying, before the gym, during long afternoons, or whatever you need to stay mentally sharp. Ultra is the ultimate guilt-free pouch delivering instant focus and mental clarity without nicotine or caffeine. New customers can use code LOCKEDONNFL to get 15% off at TakeUltra.com. That's TakeUltra.com for 15% off with code LOCKEDONNFL. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them Locked On Ravens sent you. Locked On Ravens is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. There are certain players where every at-bat feels like something big could happen. That's what makes Daily Dingers fun. You get to back the player you think is ready to go deep that day. So for me, I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Rays and Toronto Blue Jays game. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. plus 400 on FanDuel right now to hit a home run. I'm liking those odds. So are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher, Nick Moore still here with you talking Ravens football. You talked about all the leaders, right? And you have a lot of them on the team. But, I wanted to kind of give you a chance to talk about yourself in this regard, because you're obviously the vet in that special teams room, right? And you've talked with me before and just wherever you've been about kind of what your approach is heading into training camp and how you're taking on that leadership role. And, I think that's really important because you have a second-year kicker and a first-year punter, and they're definitely going to be looking to you as well as the coaching staff for guidance. So, how are you approaching, training camp coming up and kind of what you want to have your leadership be this season?
I think having Levine as our head coach, having played with Levine for a couple of years early in my career, and knowing him in this regard as the leader of the special teams when I was there, when I played with him. He was in year 10 or 11 and 12 and when he played. So I learned from him, and I learned from Sam Cook and Morgan and Justin and all these guys that played before me, what it was like or what it meant to play special teams for the Ravens. And it's like an old school mentality of like Levine's leaders when he was coming through and he was like a rookie were like Ray and Sis and all the guys when you think of the Ravens, like in the mid 2000s and early 2010s, like those guys, Haloti, Marshall, like they were the leaders that Levine was learning the game from. That's how he grew and matured as a football player. And then I was fortunate to be on the receiving end when he was on his way out the door. He did that for me, and he taught me what it was like to play special teams for the Ravens and what it meant to be able to play special teams for the Ravens, and the expectation of every time we go out on the field to execute to our absolute maximum capabilities and to be able to be a game changer and a season changer for our team. And having him as a coach now, like it's his first year as the coordinator, he's been leaning on me a lot over the course of the last few months, because I am now in the position that he was in as a player. And Chris Horton, when he first took over for us, Veen was in that position where Chris leaned on Veen a lot to, help him as a coach, give him an unbiased take on the meetings and stuff like that, but also help from a player's standpoint, like, hey, this is what he's trying to say, or this is what we have to get done. Like, this is the goal. This is what we have to do. This is why we have to do it, things like that. And, I think for me, when it comes to like the broad spectrum of special teams, this is all I do. Like I play special teams. I mean, I snap punts and field goals. That's it. I play 8 plays a game. It's not a whole lot, but my life is special teams. That's how I make money. That's how I take care of my family. Like that's what I do. And there's all these other guys that are coming in playing special teams. Like they play defense, they play offense. They got all these other things going on. And I take it upon myself to know every single phase of our special teams, every single position of our special teams, so that these younger kids that are learning the defensive playbook, or they're learning the offensive stuff, or they're doing all these other things, they know that they can lean on me because I know what they're supposed to do. I know where they're supposed to be. I know why they're supposed to be there. I know how they're supposed to get there. And I know, whatever they're supposed to execute, I know all that stuff. And so that I can be an extra coach out there to help these guys. Because sometimes it sounds better coming from a player. And so for me, I want to be that guy. If guys need someone to help them, or someone that they can trust and lean on, when they're tired in the middle of training camp, or, we're in practice 18 or 25 of training camp, and it's their body's hurting and they're struggling with, whether they're going to make the team, or like they're upset about how they played in the preseason, or they missed they had a bad rep in a joint practice, or whatever it is. I can always bring them back to level, get them back to baseline, and remind them of their job and remind them of their task at hand. And also remind them, like, you can't worry about all that other stuff that you can't control. All you can do is do your best. And I say this especially to Tyler and Brian, like at the end of the day, you work your butt off to be the best you can possibly be. But that's all you can be. You can't be any better. You can't do things that you're not capable of doing. All you can do is maximize the potential that you have. And, I take it upon myself, especially with Ryan and Tyler, like stressing to them how important our job is. Like, yeah, people look at it as like, oh, you just play long snapper. I'm like, yeah, but over 2/3 of the games in the NFL are won and lost by missed field goals, or, have an opportunity to win a game at the end of the season to go to the playoffs and win the division. Like those are the most important plays of the year, of the entire season. That was the most important one. And like stressing to them, every single thing that we do has to be done to perfection. There is no exception. There is no gray area of, okay, maybe I did it okay that time, or maybe it was, it was serviceable or whatever. No, bro. Like your job is to do exactly what you're supposed to do. Whatever you're doing, whether you're kicking a field goal, they want you to kick it off out, right hash, left hash, down the middle, on the ground, in the air, punt the ball over here, over there. Whatever they ask you to do, your job is to do it exactly how it's been asked. There is no exception. And obviously there's mistakes that happen because we're humans and human nature. It's hard to do our job over the course of a season. It becomes very difficult. And I think that's a measure of how you're successful at my position, especially because there is no grading system. Really. There's no, good or bad, like field goal, you make the kick or you miss the kick. There is not that for me. Like so the guys that stick around and play 17 years, like Morgan Cox and all these other guys, it's the ability to sustain continued execution throughout the entire course of the season and maintain consistent all the way through, and trying to teach these young guys that it's not college anymore. Like it's not going to be okay if you don't do your job. Like you have to do your job. And I learned that from the guys before me, and just trying to bring that to them and always remind them that, like, we are a crucial part of this team, all three of us. And on special teams as an entirety, we are 1/3 of the football team. We do 1/3 of the game, and every single play might not be the one that makes or breaks it, but any given play could be the play that makes or breaks the game and the season. So you have to take every single rep like it's that rep, and reminding guys that how important it is to play special teams and to be a dominant unit in this league.
I'm not gonna lie, I had to stop myself from getting up a couple times and running through the wall I got right here. But hey, look, for those who are watching and listening, you heard it here, man. I mean, offense, defense, and special teams, this Ravens team, leaders top to bottom, and Nick certainly being in that category as well. So I appreciate you giving all that insight, Nick. And look, this team, I think, can do some special things this season. And, whether it be 1 through 53, every single man on that roster, I mean, they're going to play a part for sure. So I'm excited for it. But I appreciate you hopping on. Thank you for joining me again, Nick. Before I get you out of here, tell people where they can find you and what you're working on. Although, has anything changed since last time? Or are you still working up towards it?
Nothing's changed. Still on Instagram at NickMore046. Not a whole lot going on. I'm going to be making more appearances as I'm getting into football now that we can actually have some things to talk about.
Yeah.
But with training camp 6 days away, I'm going to spend as much time as I can with the family, play a little bit of golf, and get mentally prepared for a dominant 2026 campaign.
I love it. Well, hey, be sure to go support Nick wherever he is. The link to the Instagram and everything will be in the description down below. Nick, again, thanks for hopping on, and thank you to everybody who watched and listened today to Locked On Ravens. Coming up, we'll be back here with the 6 p.m. show at 6 p.m. And then obviously tomorrow morning, we'll be back with our regularly scheduled 6 a.m. programming. So be sure on the way out, hit the like and subscribe button in video form, follow along, subscribe in audio form, and I'll see you right back here soon on Locked On Ravens.